You gave me hope when it seemed hopeless. You put a song in my heart. Showed me a road not often taken. You gave me a start all the way. Why did you ever change your name all the way? Why did you ever change your name? Because you were like a wave on the ocean. Wild and free you came. And you were like a storm coming out of mountains, never to be tamed all the way. Why did you ever change your name all the way? Why did you ever change your name?
Welcome back to Satanic Initiation on this second to last episode. This will be our official last Satanic Initiation. Wednesday will be our official last Bible studies. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for coming. Before I tell you what we're going to dive into in Omega, I want to tell you tonight we will have Gnostic Informant come in. And he was unable to make it last time because he wasn't feeling well. But now he's bouncing back and he's ready to go, and he's got the stuff to make everybody hate him. I also want to say really quick, there is an outstanding up and coming scholar who's going to rip the backside out, right out of that Victorian smile. And he goes by Old Boy. Auldboy, and he just produced a magnificent vidi on Etruscan deity. Oh, I can't wait until you see her. I can't wait for it. You got to go for it. So that's Old Boy. Nice job, Old Boy. Way to strike out, man. And his Greek is getting better and better all the time. Why? Because I'm looking for Greek students to pull in. I'm looking for people who want that skill, who can sharpen it, razor sharp. These are the people we need, and I'm educating them in the dojo. There's not really any education going on. I'm just teaching them how to use the Greek, and they're doing a great job. So if you get a chance, stop by Old Boy. Tonight on Lady Babylon, Satanic Initiation, we are going to dive into the Omega. Now, tonight is the most crucial night that everybody out there, everybody joining us, put down your popcorn for a minute, put on your ears to hear, because I'm going to be saying things tonight that only you will catch. A steady stream. And I want you to catch everything so that our initiation can be complete. Tonight, we're going to give you something a little special. This is the last one, right? We're just going to have one more Bible study. So in this Satanic Initiation, I said, look, devil, we have got to bring them something good, something none of those other mortals would be able to come up with. I mean, pastors, priests, I mean, Bible scholars, I mean, all of them. None of them's got it. Tonight, I'm going to bring you the prophecy the world hasn't seen in a couple millennia. Prophecy about someone special. Yeah. Tonight on Lady Babylon. We've got a lot of weight tonight in just a few texts, and I want to bring it to you. I mean, this is crushing weight. This makes the scholars look stupid. This makes the last 1,500 years of history look stupid. You're going to love this. Oh, God. And all it is the evidence. That's what you got to love it. I love that evidence. I love that evidence. You know what I mean? It's those texts. That's all we need. Let's clean this place up. And how could we most appropriately purge the temple in our final satanic initiation? Only one way, with the great mother of the Roman people, with Venus herself. That's the only way that we're going to find this temple complete in order to bring the Omega. Chewy, hit it. You saw it. It was hidden. You might see it again. Oh my God. I want to go right into tonight. I'm going to bring you a couple of texts. We want the morning star tonight, right? We want the morning star. We want to bring that purification. Let's go to her then, this bringer of light. Let's go to that Alpha and Omega. Let's go to the first text. Chewy, hit it. Boom. Okay. Kai edexen moi potamon hudatos zoes lampron hos krustalon. Oh, and he showed me a river of water. What kind of water was it? It was water of life. And it was brilliant, like krustalon. It was brilliant like crystal. And it flowed. It flowed out of the thronos. It flowed from a thronos. Yes. Look, did Jesus give hand gestures? It flowed from a throne. It flowed from a throne. But it's not just any throne. It's the throne of God. By the way, this is the end that I am reading you. The very end and culmination. Have some respect for the word of God. And it comes from the throne. What is it coming from? It's coming from the throne. What throne? The throne of God and the throne of the Arnion. The throne of what? Who? The throne next of the Arnion. And just tell me really quick, what is crystal? Krustalos. What is it? Ice? Ice? Some kind of glass? Looks like glass. They used it as glass. What is number 2? It equals narke. Narke. A numbness or a torpor. It comes from this creation of the frozen. Boom. Narcotize yourself. Narcotize yourself. You're frozen. Oh, I see. I see the ice. Go back to the frozen, Chewy. Go back to the frozen. Yeah. Who's this? Go ahead. Click it. What's this narke? What's this narke? Look, it's a numbness. Look at number 2. A torpedo or electric ray. What? Yeah, it numbs. You can't believe these people put this thing on their heads. People got off on electric rays in antiquity. We have descriptions of it, dude. You don't know. You don't know. You think you've been high? These people were getting loaded on everything natural, on electricity. Wow, that's some abusers of electricity, right? You thought electricity was just for, no, it's for this too. I want torpor, people. Think torpor. What is this state of torpor that's being induced? Go back down. And what is the Arnion? What is the throne? What is the throne? Who's it belong to? What is it? It's there's an Arnion that it belongs to, and everybody says, "Little lamb, right? A rain, a little tiny one, Arnion." That's a diminutive suffix. Isn't that nice? Uh-oh. But wait a minute. Don't think you know everything. Look at Roman numeral number 2. A fleece. A fleece. Didn't you know there was a throne? Yes, I did. But did you know that there was a fleece on the throne? Right? Of course there is. What world did you think you came to? This is history we're talking about. Okay, let's go to the next. Let's go to the next one. Boom. 22-2. Here we go in the middle. In the middle of the road of this place was a river and this tree of life. Wait, Zoe's tree is here? Wait, Zoe's tree? Yes, Zoe's tree. You remember her? She was that woman that was brought to the Adam. She was that woman that was brought to the Adam, right? Jehovah was trying to make things right within the mystery. Right? What happened? Devil let her have the drugs. Next thing you know, God's full of it. God's full of it. Right? We know the good and evil. We know it. You've tasted it. You people have tasted it. I've tasted it. You can't get away from it. We're witnesses. We know. We've all had it. Let's go. That water is undeniable, people. It's undeniable. In the middle of this place, this tree of Zoe, by the way, it grows on both sides of the river. Huh? Hang in there. It has what kind of fruit? It's got 12. 12 kinds of fruit? Yeah, according to each month. That's a very classical thing. And this tree produces fruit one at each time, the proper time. And the leaves, by the way, take it down. The leaves of this tree, people. Wait, and you say, wait a minute, did we get out of the ship yet? Yeah, we got out of the ship. We got out of the ship in paradise again. How do we get back to here? This is fantastic, right? The end goes back to the beginning. I am the Alpha and the Omega. Yeah. Thank you, Jesus. Morning star. Thank you. Let's go. Say thank you, Jesus. No, don't talk, Chewy. Don't talk at all. Now I want to, before we, in order to, kind of lubricate the system here, in order to kind of get us kind of warmed up, here's a little vibration. From work. This is a cult work that hasn't been translated since 1865. And it's hiding something wonderful. And I just want you to see it tonight. Mixed myrrh, strong opsian, tears distilled from pine. You like those tears? Remember who loves those tears? Oh, yeah, Mary Magdalene. You want to put her up? Should put her up there? You got Mary? Mary Magdalene loves those tears. There she is. Look at that druggie. Look at that druggie in a cemetery. Those druggies entering death and resurrection. Freaked out of their minds. Love it. Let's go back. You wanted to see the real history. This is it, people. Did you think she was normal? Of course she wasn't. Tears distilled from pine. Oh, yummy. With flakes of talc that like the silver shine. This shall reveal whatever men seek to know, and omens give of coming weal or woe. Yeah. This is what we have to look forward to. What did I bring this to you for? We've talked about it many times, but people in antiquity are using drugs both for medical and for psychological, for spiritual, for religious reasons. Christ is a medical term. It's a religious term. Yeah, it's a pharmaceutical term. Yeah, you people don't own it. And the classicists are sitting like this. Really? Because you don't read those texts. We know you don't. We know you don't. Corpus Medicorum Graecorum. Look it up sometime, you big boys from Harvard. Looks like you guys got in trouble recently. That's a shame. Oh, you're such a drag on progress in scholarship. Oh my God. Okay, people. That's why I like to teach rogues. That's why I like to teach Ronin. Are you Ronin? You come to me. You want that tool? You want that tool to kill? I'll take the best. I'll take that best, that tool that cuts the soul. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Okay, let's go. Let's go back. I'm sorry. I'm starting to enjoy it too much. We also want to be intoxicated. Methunta. We want to be intoxicated. Look at that second word there, people. Methunta. Oh, what do you want? I want to be intoxicated. But you know how I want to get my intoxication? I want to get it mastoicin. I want to get it mastoicin. Has anybody heard that root most? As in mastectomy? Right? This is becoming enthusiastic through the breast. Through the breast. They were using milk products of humans to get high and to get into states of altered consciousness. Yep. Yep, they were. You just saw it. You just saw it in the Greek. There's no going back, people. You think, oh, the initiation, it was going to, whoo, no. You were shown a world. You can't go back. You'll always know. Those of you, I just want to say this. We're going to have our jury on Wednesday, and we're going to pronounce the verdict when it's handed down by you guys, the jury. And then we're going to have sentencing if it's a guilty verdict. But what you don't realize is that when we all walk away from it, none of us can escape the reality of what we've seen. You have seen Jesus Christ in his natural habitat. You have seen him as he was in history, and you can't turn away. You were always going to look for that naked boy that was with him when he was arrested in Gethsemane at 4 a.m. You can always look for that naked kid now. You can't escape. You who are Christians, you should be upset what I've done to you. That image that you have stayed here so faithfully and received in your brains, burned into your minds, is your Son of God sexually abusing children. Yeah. While he's on drugs. For cult's sake, what do you think the Christ was? Whew. Let's go to the next one. Well, I can't wait for this prophecy that I've got. It is so hot. I'm actually bringing you a prophecy. Prophecy. I'm saving it for the end. I'm going to try to get there in 45, by 45 after, because I want Gnostic to jump in. Okay, let's go. With the next one. With its complexion of a lovely boy, the opal fills the hearts of gods with joy. Thank you, translator John. Thank you very much for that nice rhyme, which we know isn't in the original. But I want you to notice, we're around pirates. We expect boys to be in the mix. We expect the boys to be here. We're going to the Omega. You didn't think we'd make it, did you? But here it is. Next one, please. Next one, please. This is all cult, people. This is all cult. A mighty spirit Phoebus hath inspired within these gems by his own radiance fired. Okay, so these are from that religious text. I'm not even going to tell you what it's called or who wrote it. They don't know who wrote it. They don't even know what the date is. They don't. They can't date this thing. And scholars who debate back and forth, they don't. You could guess at which one is right from the evidence that they've got. You could guess. That's it. Let's go to another one. Let's warm us all up. Above all gems, fierce Mars, the lodestone loves, for eagerly to meet the steel it moves, as the fond maiden bright in youthful charm strains the loved youth within her longing arms. So tight the lodestone in its eager grasp holds the love steel, reluctant to unclasp. Circe, they say, with magic lore imbued, armed with this stone, her potent filters brood. E.T.'s daughter loved the lodestone too. Let's go to the next one. Take it down. Why Mars? Why Mars? Don't miss that. Don't miss the powers that are being used. Don't miss the science that is being beautifully woven into this form of worship, this mystery that was so important in antiquity, this thing that went back to the queen herself, the Lady Babylon herself, the biggest enemy of Jesus Christ on the earth, Lady Babylon. Yeah, love it. Let's go back to the text. Boom. Soon will we prove the virtues that I teach when we the altar of thy Savior reach. Uh-oh. Stop it for a minute. Everybody, pull out your, I'm going to stand outside myself for a moment and look at this situation. That's what we need. Do that on the throne. The throne will let you do that, right? It's a function. Go. Same text. For yonder slave, can everybody see that slave? For yonder slave, companion of my road, on his broad shoulders bears an ample load. Who is this guy? But since undone our journey's greater part, fear of the monster fills thy beating heart. Is this you? Attend whilst I an antidote declare. Look at them with their drugs. Constantly dote and antidote. No more of the trailing serpent's tooth to fear. Why not? Why don't we need to fear the tooth? Have you been pushing the tooth? Is this for you? Do you burn with that poison? This will counteract it. Let him who by the dragon's fang hath bled. Is that you? Is that you, sister and brother? Is that you? Have you bled by the dragon's fang? And in the stone his sure reliance place for wounds inflicted by the reptile race. Have you been inflicting the wounds? Have you made the Medusa? Do you see her? Do you see her coming? Can you reach out? Can you reach out to her? You are reaching out to an entity. This is not a mortal. This is a daimon. You're reaching out to it. You Christians, you have participated. You have participated in the act of reaching out to the daimones. Yeah, you have. You're tainted, whether or not you... Did you feel that voice? You heard that voice at the very beginning. You saw satanic initiation and you said, run. That voice, that pneuma said, run, run. This is of the devil. Now you're corrupted. Looking at it from our direction, from the direction of this congregation, you're cleansed. You're cleansed, excuse me. You're cleansed. But from your own direction, you've been sullied. Look at yourself, what you've participated in. These images won't leave you. You're marked now. You are marked like a record. Your life is a record to be read out in a cosmic court. You are marked. Go. I mark you. It's part of the contract, people. Next one. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, here's a good one. What other drugs can we get? Oh, people, let's get some more drugs. The ostrates mixed with wine affords again a quick relief to cool their fiery pain. Let those of you here, who've got the ears, do you understand the transformation here? Those of you who have been here, do you understand how we are describing the rite? The sacred stone that from the viper came, well known to leeches by the viper's name. Have you ever met a leech? Does anybody know a leech? Take that down for 1 second, and I'm going to put it right back. The leech. Do you know the leech? They bleed you. They bleed you. Why would they bleed you? Because they need your blood. You mean it's not just me getting rid of my blood? No, it's not just that. That blood is a resource. Strange. Especially if you are of a certain persuasion. And what persuasion is that? If you are the one that is born by the goddess producer, the Theotokos, Mary, aka Mary, if you are born of her, it is your blood that saves. It is your blood that saves. Do you see what they did with Jesus? Poor little baby. He didn't even see it coming. They've already got the gold and the drugs set up. They've already got that muron that ends up on his face. They've already got the basics for that. They're ready to go. Plus the financing. This virgin girl is going to produce the one whose blood will save us all. Do you wonder why Jesus walked around talking such things? Do you wonder? Did you think, Christians, that he just got ejected up from the sky into a woman's uterus, into a girl's uterus, into a 12-year-old's uterus? Oh, God, it's so gross to talk about the origins of Christianity. It's so gross, but somebody has to do it. Okay? I'm sorry. The devil hates that, right? You won't see him hanging around. You won't see him hanging around doing stuff like that. You didn't see Lucifer get arrested with a naked kid, did you? You didn't see Lucifer blowing his top and kicking all of his people out of his garden. You didn't see him do that. Lucifer has class, man. He's got real class. Hail Satan. Let me hear it from you. Hail Satan. Hail Satan. That's right, man. Not arrested with a naked kid. You think Lucifer's going to be up on charges like that? No transdimensional court in the world's going to do that. Everybody knows. Man, let's go back. Go back to the source. Let's go back to that one. Yep, keep reading it. I got to read. So what is this leech doing? Yeah, the sacred stone that from the viper came. Okay, listen up. Well known to leeches by the viper's name, aided by which divine Machaon's art cured the rankling wound, the 9-year smart, when the despairing hero now no more hoped for deliverance from the festering sore, but taught its virtues by his sire on high. With this he healed the bold Paeantian's thigh, and sent him forth rejoicing on his way to Troy, the Phrygian ravisher to slay. It's, yeah. What kind of code is all of that? Right? You heard the surface? Now realize there's something called the Orphic Vox. The Orphic Vox, or the Vox Orphica. The Orphic Vox, the Orphic voice. And realize that you are hearing a story. And underneath the story, because you have been here, and those who've been through the whole 7 seasons, you're picking up those symbols like that and picking them out. You're getting faster than I am, right? Okay, so you know that there's a story, and underneath the story is a point. Underneath the story is an edge, a razor's edge. And that's why we're going to bring you the prophecy tonight. Let's keep going. Boom. Far greater fear, never slumbering day or night, had Philoctetes of the viper's bite. That's who was healed, Machaon. That's who is healed, right? Philoctetes, he's the one who's subject of the viper's bite. Are you subject to the viper's bite? Do you know who's worthy of the bow of Heracles? Do you know who's worthy? You know what Heracles uses? He uses the poison of the Hydra. You squirm bags. Yeah, that's how he would refer to you. Yeah, you bags of squirming, rotten flesh. You haven't been purged. Let me introduce you to the Hydra. Oh, God. Who wants to go? I want to go. Can we just field trip? Everybody? Going to, we're going to the mysteries. Now, some of us may not come back. You know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Go. Let's go to the next one. Oh, yeah. Falls from the feet to teach some charm that far away should chase whenever he reached his home. The reptile race, touched by his prayer, the wizard high reveals the sought for antidote, nor aught conceals, invokes Apollo, witness of his truth, and give these precepts to suppliant youth. Yeah. There's the youth coming to him. Did anybody see the boys coming in? Have you people become comfortable enough with the pirates to understand what the business is all about? You remember when we were on that ship a couple of seasons ago with that Thracian pirate? You remember what he did? He had his guys go ashore and take that young kid, and then he told him, bring him to his room. He's the best looking, right? Best looking Thracian they could find. And they took him, took him to his place of surgery and cut off his testicles so that when he awoke, because he had to keep him drugged while he was asleep, right? When he awoke, what happened? He was transformed into an angel. You ever seen an angel birthed? Those of you, we stand around, we think, I say angel, and you think fairy tale. I know you do. You think dude in a white dress, maybe long blonde, straight blonde hair, pale skin, like a European, maybe blue eyes, right? Something like that. Big and tall and very pious looking, right? No, no, no. That's not how angels are born. Right? That's not how angels are brought about. You mean angels are creations? Yeah, just like the Medusa. Right? And by the way, that concept of an angel that you think is central to Christianity and Judaism, guess where they got it? It's a Greek word. When that dude in the 3rd century, the person in the 3rd century, probably Jewish, who wrote the Torah in Greek for the first time, when he did that, the bonehead encoded. He used the Orphic mystery, and I'm going to show you tonight. I'm going to break the code. Plutarch knew this straight up, and Gnostic Informant's going to tell you how Plutarch knew it, right? But that tribe of Levites, guess where they come from? Oh my God, are they in on it too? Are they in on it? Holy mackerel. Let's look at it. When this thing was written, when your Torah, when your Bible was written, your Old Testament was written in the 3rd century BC, the knuckleheads that composed it borrowed from the cult that was present in their society. It's not a surprise. It's not a surprise, but they weren't smart enough to hide it. They just left it in the open. It just says it. Okay, let's keep going. I'm getting, my blood is up. I don't know why. It's every time biblical scholars, I smell a biblical scholar, it makes me so mad. If I had a room full of biblical scholars, I would be like, okay, now I'm going to hold you accountable for all your BS, right? And I'd be like, stand up, come here. This is my fantasy. I can have fantasies too. What I would do, I wouldn't hurt anyone, nor would I cause any sort of permanent damage to their fragile psyches. No, of course not. This is all in love. When you purify someone, come here, like this. Biblical scholars, come here. Here, take down your little pants and bend over. No, bend over. There you go. Thanks. Did you know there's no term That whole Urim and Thummim thing, those actual Hebrew words, they're not in the Septuagint. they, they totally altered the text afterwards. You know what those guys were doing with the Dead Sea Scrolls? They were making Hebrew versions from the Greek. Oh my God. And everybody's like, oh, this is so wonderful. We have something. No, you don't. You have copies of a Greek text. That's all. Appropriation is appropriation. This stuff belongs to the Greeks. Who do you think was making profits? Go. Let's go. It's Bronze Age, Greek society. Pelasgian. If we want to give credit, we got to say Pelasgian. Because it's old. This technology is old. Let's go to the next one. For all the pests that out of earth arise, the earth's own self the antidote supplies. She breeds the viper, but she too the sage. The means presents to quell the means presents to quell the viper's rage. All kinds of gems spring from her bosom wide. Yeah, and hapless mortals with sure help provide. Let's go to another one. Do you see how much? Where is the thinking here? The scientists are thinking. We get dotes and antidotes. We give drugs, they cause a reaction. We give antidotes to block the activities or the symptoms that those drugs produce. We make a cocktail so that we can specially design the person. Imagine if it's the future and you can walk up to a panel and you can push a button and you can say, I need a combo that will lift me up, pull me down, put me this way, make me feel this, give me a couple inches of height, and maybe make me aroused. Boom, out it comes. That's only because of people who have done thousands of years of work on what those substances do. That's a lot of laboratory time, people. That's a lot of laboratory time. And who is the one culture that we keep seeing that are really pioneering this dote and antidote? What's the one culture? It's those children of the sun, daughters of the sun. They're the ones who are doing all of this experimental stuff. Did you see in this cult text that I've been reading you from the translation? That's what the English is that I keep putting up. It's all cult text. Did you notice the names that we've mentioned so far? Circe and Medea. Of course. Let's go back to the next source. This is going to get really good now. Hold on. Okay. And he showed to me a river of water of life, and it was shining as crystal. I just want to keep going. And it was coming out of the throne of God and the sheepskin. And in the middle of this road, there was this tree on both sides of the river. And what happened? It made these fruits that produced these 12. It made these 12 fruits. They were produced according to each season. Yeah. And the leaves, they're for what? For therapy. They're for therapy. This is medicine, people. It's the tree of life. What do you think we were doing? Go to the next one. Boom. I just want to keep reminding people, and every curse is going to go away. Do you know why he says that? Every curse is going to go away. Now, you evangelicals are thinking, because this is from the Bible, right? This is the Revelation or the Apocalypse, right? What's the curse that's going to? It is the sin, my son. It is the sin of the world being taken. No, you moron. We're talking about a healing cult. Yeah. And those curses, they cause disease. You don't look at the world that way, do you? No, because you don't know what curses are and how to use them. And thank goodness you don't. Let's go to the next one. Chewy. We can't teach. That's too advanced. Next thing you know, we'll be having outbreaks and all sorts of things. And, look, these words are true and faithful. The Lord God, sent out his angel, right? And what's this angel going to do? He's going to show to the slaves of Jesus. He's going to show the slaves of Jesus the thing that's going to happen, whatever's going to happen, man. And it's going to be quick. What's coming soon? He's going to show them. He's going to show them. And he says, hey, pay attention. This is Jesus. I'm coming. Morning star, I'm coming, he says. I'm coming quickly. Taka. And what's going to happen? Blessed is the one who guards the logoi, who guards those words, logos. What words? Words of the prophets. Yeah. Okay. Words of the prophecies of what? This book. Those who guard these prophecies are the ones who are following the mystery. And by that, I do not mean sitting in your movie theater, watching your show, The Coming Massacre, or whatever you call it, getting off the boat late. What did they used to call that thing? That idiot that was in that sitcom in the 80s was big into it. Some author made a gaggle of money writing about the fear of the coming. Here comes. So much so that I had a relative ask me, would I watch your dogs when Jesus comes back to get her? People, the fairy tale is dragging you into idiocy. Do you know what the people said when Peter and John showed up in the city to preach? Do you know what they said? These are Greeks. I don't know about you, but these two bozos are idiots. They're illiterate. Did you know that? All the time that Jesus spent with those boys, he didn't once give an alpha, beta, gamma? Oh my God. Jesus Christ. Go to the next one. We got to we're coming down to the back stretch. Gnostic, just give me a second. I'm coming in. Blessed are those who wash their gowns in order that the forceful essence, right, of this from that tree might come upon them. Oh, right? After they get it, they can go into the city through the gates, right? You want to go to the city through the gates? Got to have the water of life, boneheads. What's outside of all this? All of us, look, we're all sitting here, Satanic congregation. We know what we've got. We've had the water of life. Who are the boneheads? They're a bunch of other people, says Jesus. We're trying to do the same thing. Wait, what? Yeah, the people who are against us, they're all kunes, dogs, and everybody translates that the same. Dogs. Why would he say dogs? Jesus, you got something against dogs? Come to think of it, I never saw Jesus ever pet a dog. And that makes me sad because I love dogs. Jesus Christ, bend over. That's for being mean to dogs. But it's not really his fault, because these kunes that he's talking about, this is a select group. This is a known group, right? Hercules is accompanied where he goes by his Phoenician dogs. Yeah. Do you know who the enemy is to this Christ who is Venus, whose mother was the goddess bearer? Do you know who he is? He's the enemy of the dogs. What are the dogs doing? Let's bring that passage back up. What are those dogs doing? Oh God, look at them. Kai hoi pharmakoi, kai ho pon. Whoa, wait a minute. Pornoi? Oh God. They're prostitutes and drug users, those kunes. We all know that. And they're murderers too. And they're idolaters. You know what they do? In the darkness of their temple? Yeah. You know what they do? Yeah. Okay. Jesus is competing with them, right? He's competing. When that Pythia comes to Jesus and comes to Paul and says, "You're doing the Christ thing," and he's like, "Shut up." right? And she follows him around. And then ultimately he gets her in trouble, and he gets himself in trouble, right? Couldn't just keep your mouth shut, Paul, you druggie. You couldn't just keep your mouth shut. She nailed you for who you were. And because it scared you like it did Peter, you tried to shut her up, right? She's just a woman. Unfortunately for you, she was a woman who was an oracle, and it caused you to get the you know what beaten out of you. Who wants to see Paul? Who wants to see Paul with those people? Haven't messed with this girl because she's a Pythia. Haven't messed with this girl, and now people are beating him up. Right? This is the reality, people. This is not fairy tale Paul. They ought to show this one. Why don't you guys illustrate this one in your Sunday schools? Why don't you show Paul harassing a girl? Misogynist. Better to marry than to burn. You sicko. That's different. That's a different court. It's going to deal with that case. Let's go to the next one. And behold, I come quickly, and my reward's with me. Yeah, just jump down to 13. We got to hurry. I am the Alpha and the Omega. Did you see that? I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the completion of things, right? The initiation and the completion. Do you understand the Omega? The Omega is when everything comes together. This is the beginning and the telos. This is the completion of you. The completion of you. Wait, it has to do with me? Yes, it has to do with us. The completion of us. Next one. Let's go through these. Oh, Jesus, sent an angel, to witness to you these things. About the churches, I am the root, right? And the offspring of David. Now, what else does he say is? Look at the second line. I am Ho Aster. I am the star. Ho Lampros. Which star? The bright one. Does everybody know what the bright shining morning star is? The Proinos, excuse me. It's that morning star. Everybody knows who the morning star is. We Romans, we worship the morning star, you boneheads, right? Not you, the rest. We worship that morning star. Let's go on. Who do you think is the Alpha and the Omega? Didn't you think Venus was the Alpha and the Omega? Of course, right? It has to be. A lot of you thought Venus is Venus because I've seen her through a modern lens. No. Venus is much more than you think. Much more. So much more that Jesus is stealing her thunder. Isn't that nice? Jesus is stealing the thunder of the goddess Venus. Right? That's her title. That's her title, you moron. Take that away. I take that. I petition this court to remove the title of Jesus. I petition this court to give it back to Venus, to whom it belongs and to whom it was with for thousands of years. Give it back. Belongs to her. Let's go. Next one. Oh, look at this. Oh, okay. And this is the river. I don't know why I wanted you to see it again. I wanted you to see it again for some reason, but I've got 4 or 5 more. Let's keep up a pace here. Look at verse 15. Now you're saying, where is this from? Guess what, kiddies? Remember that Jewish guy that wrote the Torah in the 3rd century BC? Remember him? This is what he's writing. And this is from Exodus. It sounds so funny, right? Exodus. Guess what language gave us that? Right? Okay. And what did he say? What is God's command to Aaron and the boys, the Levites? What's the command? What's the command? And you got to make an oracle. You got to make an oracle? Logeon is an oracle. You got to make an oracle of Chryseon. Whoa. Yeah. What? Go to the next. You got to make a what? You got to make an oracle. Look, people, look at number 2. They knew this in antiquity. They knew this in the last 200 years. I'm not bringing up anything new. This is the thing that they're making that the high priest is going to walk around in. Okay, do you see it? Here it's coming. Here it's coming, the reality. Ready? Ready? Go to the next one. It's what kind of oracle is it? It's an oracle of, look at number 3 and 4. It's an oracle of election. It's an oracle of dreams. It's an oracle of dreams, portents. Didn't you know that the tent that Moses set up was called a telesterion? Telesterion. Now, there is no word for that in Hebrew, right? So all of this has to be fudged when it's time for people to appropriate, and they start taking the Greek and translating it into what is by then liturgical Hebrew. So they only have like 8,000 words. I'm sorry, but it is such a bad idea. It is such a bad idea. The fact that those knuckleheads couldn't figure out that they couldn't possibly translate all the technical terminology is hilarious. I had a couple of verses for you. I was going to bring and show you it was verse 12, 28:12, and I was going to show you. Look, the Greek uses two words with the same root right next to each other for a reason here, like it loves to do. And the Hebrew doesn't know what to do. The Hebrew doesn't know what to do. So it uses two totally different terms that are only related to the art that the Greek is talking about. The art that the Greek was talking about is embroidery, right? So it's there. I hope there's so much to be done. There's so much to be done with that. Let's keep going. I'm almost there. Gnostic, I'm almost there. But wait, we got the good thing coming up. Okay, blow this up, Chewy. Now, people, here is the sacred document. Here's the sacred document. And I just want to, I've shown you a couple of lines of this in the past. This is the Orphic Lithica, right? And he says, look, Hermes, the son of Maya, he came here and he gave us a gift. He gave us the gift of the danger averting Zeus, or the danger averting God, right? And what is this thing? It's a remedy. It's a remedy for all of your pain. It's a remedy for your pain, yeah. And the mortals that take it, right? These people they're gonna do good things, right? And they have to be in a certain state. They have to have a heart that's pure, right? You got to have a pure heart. These Satanists don't want you messing around with any of this magic if you're not of pure heart. You know what I mean? Come on, man. You can't get there anyway. You have the least bit of greed in you. You have just one sliver. Throw that silver coin out. You grab that thing. Oh, that's it. You're done. There's no purity there. You greedy scumbag. That's what the Furies say. Greedy scumbag. That's their line. Okay. Look, it's not right. It's not right for people who are these bad people. It's not right for them to have visions anyway. So the stuff that I'm going to show you, it's just for those of us with ears to hear who have been purified. And how do you take someone who has who believes, maybe they're Buddhist, maybe they're Hindu, maybe they're Jewish, maybe they're a Christian, maybe they're a Mormon, Scientologist, I don't care, right? Maybe they're an atheist. Maybe they're an atheist. They sit around. What gets the Christians, what gets the atheists, or what should get them, is that they're named after the Christians. The Christians are the first people to achieve that name, atheist. Isn't that nice? Why? Because they don't believe in justice. Christians don't believe in justice? No, they don't. Do you want evidence? They'll take out your government. Yeah, they don't care. Justice doesn't matter. They'll let criminals out of jail. And they'll put people in jail for taking care of their own bodies. Yeah. I'm just telling you what Julian said. I'm just telling you what Celsus said. They are illiterate idiots who will take down your government. This is what they're all saying from antiquity. And you and I are watching it. We have a front row seat. Jesus must love the hell out of us because we're right there to watch him take it down. Yeah. Yeah. You remember The blood of tyrants and their patriots must be shed, or you will not retain DK. You won't keep your liberty. You won't keep your freedom. I'm sorry. That's my American coming out. There's got to be a little American in all of us, right? Okay, let's go. Is there a problem? Hang on, Chewy's indicating there's a problem. Let's pause for this message from your sponsor. Who is this? Who is it? I can't see. I can't read your lips. Oh, did you hear? Shh, you're not supposed to say anything. Okay. DK. Oh, and by the way, people keep asking, when is Chewy going to show her face? When is Chewy going to show her face? It's mystery. Let's go to back to the text. Back to the text. We're almost done. We're in the stretch here. I'll hurry us along a little bit. And what do we really need to know? Look, this is part of a tradition. This thing that Hermes passed down to us, this gift, it's gone through people like Apollo to his son. It went through Athena to others, citizens, people like Heracles, who were able to pick it up and were able to what? Were able to mount the ether. They were able to mount the ether. Can you hear me? These are the people who have done this through time. Chiron is one of them. And what did he do? He taught the art to his boys. He taught the art to his boys. You can substitute Jesus for Chiron, and it's the same cult. We still get Christ. We still get sons of God. We still get death and resurrection. Whew, okay. What about that prophecy you promised me? Let's go on. There's a lot here of what's promised, but let's go on to I want to see the prophecy that nobody's revealed that I want people to have tonight. Okay. Now, I want you to recognize really quick, this is on the Lithica, and I just want you to see on the authorship of the poem. This poem is considered by some hoo-ha to be the production of some Asiatic Greek. That's just a slight hint of kind of eugenic-y kind of thinking, right? I mean, technically, he's from Asia. Well, whatever, it doesn't matter. Written in the 4th century, that's the guess, total guess. After the profession of magician had been made a capital offense by the law of Constantius, right? Okay. He even conjectures that the godlike prophet that we're to talk about now, keep going. Oh, is what? Well, let's get to some drugs first, right? Yeah. The Salagrama or sacred stone of Vishnu. I don't know how to say that to you. I'll defer to Snappy on that. Some stone sacred to Vishnu, so much used by the Brahmins in all propitiatory rites, especially at the moment of death, is described by somebody as a kind of ammonite, very heavy, oval and round, black. The very wrinkled, ponderous, round, black orites of Orpheus. Sometimes its color is violet. Yeah, represents that vindictive avatar. Okay, take it down. Wait a minute. Well, I thought we were in Greece. We're all over, baby. We are all over the globe. Go back to the next one. All over the globe. Here we are. I want to give you a couple of passages here. Here's the prophecy, people. Are you ready? What's going to happen to this God prophet? Who is this God prophet that's coming? Who is this son of God that is coming, who's going to use the gift of Hermes, who's going to know the ambrosia, and like Chiron, is going to pass it on to his boys? Who is this? Well, I'll tell you who, what happens to this prophet. The boys who have I'm translating now. The boys who have soft flesh, they grab him with their little grabby hands and cause him to enter desire. Ooh. Okay, it's getting a little bit strange. Keep going. This is unheard. Are you ready? And the soft Cora. That soft Cora. Does everybody know the soft Cora? That soft girl pulls him into her bed because she is always, always, always just hot and bothered for Philotes. Oh my God, she loves that stuff with the kisses. With the kisses. Let's keep going. Are you serious? This is prophet. Yep, I'm serious. Are you ready? It's going to start to sound familiar. Give me the next one. And what's going to happen? Look at the second line. When there's a storm on the sea, he's not going to get upset. He's not going to be shaken. He's going to walk on the water, and his feet will be as if they're on dry land. On dry land. Does that sound familiar, anyone? Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Why do you think Jesus was talking about? Well, this happened because this prophecy has to be fulfilled. Uh-oh, look at line 40. Look at line 40. Jesus, this isn't starting not to look good. And the pirates who are atypical, what do? They abandon him. They abandon him. You know those boy pirates? You know that rock that he was raising? He pulls out that sword. He's going to be the next pirate. He's going to be the next Laestace. Did you see the word Laestace there? Yeah. Yeah. Laesteres. There's our plural. Look at it, line 40. Right? And what's going to happen? Look at the next line. It says, and people are going to what? They're going to see the Father in him. They're going to see the Father in him, and they're going to love his kingdom. They're going to love his kingdom. Wait, this is prophecy? Yep, it's prophecy. Let's see if it came true. Let's see if it came true. Go to the next one. We only got a couple of these left, right? This is coming up on the end of satanic initiation. What else can this prophet do, this God? What else can he do? He can see into people's brains. He can see what the mortals are trying to hold in their minds. He knows what they're contriving. He even knows what those bird songs are, those creatures that hover in the air. He knows when they give out their Bacchic song. He knows these things that are unheard of by men, right, who don't have ears to hear. He knows the birds, those prophets of Zeus. He knows them. What else does he know? Uh-oh, this is going to scare you. Are you ready? He knows how to establish the rush of the coming dragon. And he knows how to balance the drug of the snake. You see line 49? You see where it says, oh, Eon? There's our Eos people. There's our Eos people. And how does it get transmitted to him? I'm going to give it to him. I'm going to give it to him in the holos. I'm going to give it to him in the bile. You know what that bile is in the vox? That bile is serpent venom. He's going to be a master of the serpent venom. He's going to be screaming about people who are thirsty. He's going to be bringing people into death and raising them again. Are you, let me ask the Christians, are you ready to be raised from the dead? Are you ready? I'm speaking to you. You evangelicals, you ready? Because you know Jesus can do it. You know he can raise from the dead. You know you can drink those drugs that'll kill you, and they won't. You know you can lift up those vipers. Wait a minute. You don't? As a Christian, you don't? Then you're not a Christian. Turn around and walk away. You didn't come here as a kid anyway. You weren't put through the rite. You're uninitiated. You are unborn again. You know what you are? You're a psychological deviant. You're a psychological deviant who thinks you're in a state that they were in antiquity, and you're 180 degrees off. You're 180 degrees off. Oh, God, it's embarrassing, but somebody's got to show you the history, right? Somebody's got to show you. We got 2 more slides. Go. Actually, I want to quit. I want to quit right there on that last slide. Just bring that last slide up one more time. I think it was this one. Bring that one up. Yeah. 1,000 other blessings heaped on high, stored in the cave of skillful Hermes lie, immortal, true, of wondrous potency, who so attains a happy man is he. Isn't that nice? That's a little Victorian misogyny cuddled in there too. But there you go. There you go. Love it. Love it. Okay. Let's bring in Gnostic Informant. Gnostic Informant, thank you for coming. I
What's going on?
really appreciate the fact that you would join me in this my second to last episode for Satanic Initiation and Bible Studies.
Yep.
Tell me something. Tell me just really quick before I get into the interview part. And people love to see it. People last time were saying in the comments, they're saying, "Whoo, he's so hot."
Well, I want to add some sources to complement to what you've already brought across, because I think the main theme here, and the main theme of the Satanic Initiation in general, is there is no escaping the world, the Greek world that these religions are operating in. Theology itself comes from the Orphics, Orpheus being called the first theologian. All of this descends from Medea and the magical rites that came out of Colchis that influenced the Etruscans, the Greeks, the Romans, the Carthaginians, the Egyptians, everybody. And they call themselves Orphics, the Pythagoreans. Pythagoreans are basically Orphics that are living in Italy. Plato was one of these people. He called himself an Orphic. He starts Platonism. The Stoics come along, and the Stoics and the Platonists mix together. You get Middle Platonism. It's where Christianity comes out of, and so forth. And there's no escaping this. There's certain that when they're speaking in their languages, whether it's Hebrew or Greek or Egyptian, there are certain words that etymology goes back to these Orphics. And like, I'm going to show you like the word Eucharist, you and charis, to give grace. That's a technical cultic term, but I'm getting ahead of myself. First, I want to show Paul, our buddy Paul, our pure Paul. You know, he has obviously no links to Medea, right? That'd be crazy. Medea is a witch. What would Paul have to do with Medea? Let's go with the source that I got, the first one I told you about when I'm the share screen. All right, this is from Titus, one of the letters that are attributed to Paul. In the spirit of Paul, maybe somebody who Paul is traveling with, whatever. It's Titus. It's got Paul's name on it. And if you go down, he says, one of Crete's prophets has said it. Cretans are always liars, evil brutes, lazy gluttons. This saying is true. Okay, what prophet is he talking about? Who's this prophet? Why is he calling him a prophet? Well, it turns out this is from Epimenides. Most people would already know that. But here's the thing. Epimenides didn't make this up. Epimenides is citing somebody, and I'm going to go to this screen now. Epimenides is citing Medea. Here it is. He reports Athenodorus of Eretria in the 8th book on his commentaries, says that Thetis and Medea had a dispute in Thessaly. You know, that's where the Pelasgians settled. As to which was the most beautiful, their judge Idomeneus, who gave victory to Thetis. Medea, in anger, said, the Cretans are always liars. And in revenge, she made the curse that he would never speak the truth, just as he had lied in his judgment. There's that Epimenides paradox right there. Epimenides is citing Medea. And then, so by extension, Titus, Paul, is citing Medea. There you go. You can't escape Medea's influence. No matter how hard you try to purify or separate, those are pagans and we're Christians, we're different. We're going to put a fake border around Israel or Judea and say this is Judaism and everyone else is pagans. No. You don't get to do that. This is all the same cultural milieu. They're all being influenced by these Orphics, these ancient magical rites. Medea is she's a magus. Her and Circe have the famous rhombos, which is what Jesus is depicted holding. I'm going to show you guys. Here's Jesus holding his rhombos. You know, these are the oldest images of Jesus in existence. Before the bearded Jesus that everyone knows, he used to be depicted with like this, without a beard. In fact, sometimes they found a statue of what they thought was Apollo. exactly like Apollo. You know, that feminine look that Apollo carries. Then they found out later on it wasn't Apollo, it was a statue of Jesus. They just took a statue of Apollo and called it Jesus. I mean, I'm just trying to explain to you the imagery, the culture cannot be escaped. The influence cannot be escaped. Jesus is a magus like everyone else is. Now, I want to go to Revelation. This is Revelation 1, where you have this idea of this Jesus coming. The hair on his head was white like wool. His eyes were blazing with fire. His feet were like bronze glowing in a furnace, and his voice was the sound of rushing waters. And in his hand, he held 7 stars. What is this? What kind of imagery is this? Well, this is everywhere back in this time period. You have the images of the invincible sun. Always, and I'm going to show some more. This is one coin of Roman Mithras with the 7 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's your crescent moon, and there's your gradient crown. And this religion of the unconquered sun comes from the east, in particular, the Caucasus region, where the Magi are. So, you know, the Persians are mainly influenced by this too. But ultimately, if you go back far enough, you'll see this is from that little wedged region in between the Black Sea and Caspian Sea region. Medea is the daughter of the sun. They were there was the kingdom of the sun, the Bosporus kingdom. Even in the time of Augustus, they were this area of the world was so revered that no one was allowed to have a kingdom. You couldn't have a kingdom under Rome. You have an emperor, and everybody is either either you're a consul or a governor, some sort of tetrarch. But the Bosporus was allowed to keep their kingdom. The only place in the world that was allowed to keep their kingdom. There was a lot of respect paid to this part of the world. When Ovid got in trouble, he had to flee to that part of the world. He had nowhere else to go. He had to go to the Bosporus, where he'd be protected basically as like a sort of like what Edward Snowden is right now, where you go like you're in trouble. If he goes back to America, he's gonna get arrested. But he can hang out in Russia. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like Ovid, right? So now I wanted to show that, but I got some slides that I want to go through now, and it's relating to these rites that I'm talking about. I want to explain what I'm talking about. So let's.
Oh, I think. Yeah, technical difficulties, people. Just a second, Chewy. Were we flying to an asteroid? Oh,
I'm back. Oh, my bad.
Oh, here he is. Okay, good. I'm gonna disappear. Do your thing.
No, let's give me a second because I gotta load it back up again now. But
okay.
I clicked
let me
the wrong
say while
yeah,
Gnostic is reloading up here. Let me just say how nice it is to hear the words of Medea out of the lips of Paul the Apostle. That's so nice. And what's maybe even more incredible is to hear it from Epimenides, because Epimenides, the prophet, he's considered the one, he inspired some stuff that ultimately ends up through Solon going into a world of democracy. So, these people, especially the pre-Socratics, man, you cannot not give them enough credit. I mean, this guy is the Thomas Jefferson of antiquity. Thomas Jefferson and this guy, I guarantee you, Epimenides and Thomas Jefferson are sitting in hell right now with a table and a fine French wine. And they are both having a conversation that the demons are just sitting there like this. Oh my God, these guys are fantastic, right? Yeah. So, hey, thank you for that Epimenides link. And also the fact that Caucasus is a region of the world where this art is evolving, that ultimately is the mystery that Christianity and Judaism spring from. Yeah,
and this is where you get the Medes, who name themselves after Medea. You have Herodotus explains right in book 1 of the histories that all this comes from Medea. The Trojan War itself is a result of some things that happened according with Medea and Helen. But I got some slides that I want to bring on the screen now. And now I click the right button. So this is from Plutarch. We're gonna go through some stuff that Plutarch has to say. And Plutarch's talking about this Zoroaster Magian. He says before the Trojan War. He says 5,000 years. I don't know about all that. I don't know where he's getting that number from. Anyways, but he says he calls the one Arman, or it's Horamaz, the Oramazes, and the later Aramanios, right? And there's something that's going on here that we see in Judaism, where you have the Yom Kippur, or you have where you have one goat that you set off into the wilderness, which is Azazel, the evil. You had these two different opposing spirits, right? This comes straight from Zoroaster, who is part of the same region where Medea was located. Anyways, he says, furthermore, the objects of sense, the one resembles light, the other darkness. Mithras is between the two. The reason the Persians, Mithras, the mediator. Remember, Jesus says, "I'm the mediator," and he says, I am Lucifer, the bright and morning star." This is all cultic terminology that we see everywhere, right? So, mediator taught them to offer sacrifice and vows and thanksgiving. That's in English. If you go to the Greek, you could check. You guys can all check. Hopefully, you guys are checking me. I don't want you to just take my word for it. If this was Amon doing it, he would just have the Greek up, and I'm not as good as that. So I just kind of go with the translation. I check the Greek just because I want to know. I want to know what's the terminology. The word is not Thanksgiving. The word is Eucharist. He says that he's saying that Zoroaster taught the rites of the Eucharist. This is exactly what it says. And it says, vows and Eucharist to the one, of deprecation and mourning to the other. The rites of mourning, ritual mourning of Adonis, right? Ritual mourning of Jesus. And for they bruise a certain herb, I think it's Amon or something, Amion or something like that. I think that's how you pronounce it. And it's in a mortar, and they invoke Hades with it, mixing it with the blood of a wolf they sacrifice. And then they carry it and throw it into a place where the sun never comes. And this plant they call the daemons, right? Okay. Now, the reason why I wanted to show that is because I'm going to go because Plutarch, in another text that I have right here called the Symposiacs, where him and his buddies, he's with his teacher. His name is Ammon, by the way, Ammonius. That's his teacher. And they're discussing, what is this God of the Jews? So go back to the slides if you can. And it says, all right, who is this God? Who is this God, right? And he says, what's the mysteries of the Jews? And then is there a solid reason that we can give to prove Adonis to be the same with Bacchus? Here's where we get into the syncretisms that we see with these Middle Platonists. They're syncretizing. They're combining all these gods into super gods, right? So here we're seeing the rites of Adonis and Bacchus being mingled together, and he talks about how I'm just skimming through this. You guys can read this. Pause it later, or come back and pause it. Read the whole thing. I'm going to flip right through it. He says this most holy solemnity of the Jews is exactly agreeable to the rites of Bacchus, for which they call the feasts that they celebrate in the midst of vintage, furnishing their tables with all sorts of fruits. And they sit under the tabernacle. Whoops, I'm getting ahead of myself. And then it says that over on the right, he says, for they have the trumpets and the Grecians use this at their bacchanalia to call upon the gods. And he's noticing they're doing the same rites as people in the Eleusinian mysteries. I'm watching them do the exact same thing. They're dressed the same. They have the same priestly garments. He says that the Levites have this name that looks a lot like a group of priestly class called the Lucius or Evius. Either way, which one the etymology is, it's agreeable to Bacchus. He's looking at this and saying, these are the rites. And the reason for this is if you try to separate Jerusalem as like this branched off force field world where everyone else is separate from them and they have no influence from the outside and they don't know anything that's going on anywhere else, you're going to lose this. There's a way that priests get ordained in the ancient world, and it was typical of how they offer incense on certain days. Certain priests have to do the certain things. They have a certain way to build their temples with the Holy of Holies in the middle. We see this in Egypt. We see this in Judea. We see this in Syria. All of this is how this was done. This is a Bronze Age tradition from Medea from that time period, passed down everywhere throughout the entire Mediterranean world. Me and Amon call this the Bacchic Empire. You start to see this. There's commonalities amongst these, and they overlap each other. It's no different for the priests of Israel. And so let's keep continuing on with this slide. You could see it with the way they dress. This is a Christian Orthodox priest holding the staff. And on the right, you're probably wondering, what's that on the right? Is that just another staff? No. That's a Hermes staff found from 500 BCE from Athens. And that was welded onto a staff where the priest, the Yaobakoi, they're called, and they had their high priest holding these. This is a wand. This is a rhombos wand. It's a magical instrument. And you see this Orthodox priest is holding it. Why? Why do you think they're holding it? Do you really think this is just cool looking? No, there's reasons why they held on to these traditions. This matters. And you're thinking, what about the Romans? That's Greek, right? Well, the Romans have their own way of doing it. The Romans have their staff that they call elitius. And the augurs in the ancient world held these. And the augurs did divinery with looking at birds, right? And it's funny because the word cardinal is a Latin word that comes from these priests. They named the red bird after the cardinals. And it's interesting because the augurs used birds in their divination. So you were like, is something going on with that? Maybe I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just looking at things I'm noticing. Now, let's go to the next one. There's your cardinal right there, that red bird, right? That's augury stuff. This is augury, all right? Now, Mithras, Lucifer, the invincible sun, the light bearer. You see the torch bearers, the Dadaphoriae. There's actually if you look at the early Christ association groups, there was a branch, there was a type of priest in the early Christian groups called the Dadaphoriae. Same name as the groups of Mithraic priests. In fact, a lot of these old Mithraic temples were repurposed for Christian churches. There's churches right now in use. Not talking about old ruins. People still attend churches today, and in their basements are Mithraeums. They're still there. They're not getting rid of them. They just keep them there. And people will travel to go see these places. Go look it up. This is what they did. They have a story about Saint Demetrius from the 5th century, and he was one of the last priests of the Eleusinian mysteries. And the story goes, I don't know how true this is, but the story is that Demeter visited him in a dream and told him to worship Jesus. So she said, take all of my rites and put them onto Jesus. So we have like 5th, 6th century text about co-opting the Eleusinian rites and bringing it into the fold in Christianity. We see this with Sol Invictus as well. So you start seeing early apologetics going on where they're trying to figure out when Jesus was born. And the only indication they have is they go off in the Gospel of Luke, where it says that when John was born, his father Zechariah was one of the priests of a sect called the Abijah, which is the 8th division out of 24 divisions of priests. His job is to go in, just like I just talked about, these ancient rites. The Orphics would light certain incense for certain gods for certain festivals. Well, they do this in Israel. They have certain priests from certain classes. In the case of Zechariah, he was part of the Abijah, or how you pronounce it. And they would 2 weeks out of the year, it was their job to control the temple, light its incense. And so there's a little bit of indication on what time of the year he could have been there. But anyways, it ends up being where you can kind of hone it into like a month period. You could kind of pick. There's some early accounts that say he might have been born on January 6th, conceived in April 6th or something like that. And then there's later accounts when they start going, you can start seeing the early apologetics going, Sol is on the rise. Sol is the head of the pantheon now. Elagabalus came along, the Severan dynasty came along, and they're implementing these ancient Armenian/Persian Black Sea rites of Mithras, Sol Invictus. And this is rising as I showed you with the Mithraeans everywhere. And the Christians are looking at this, and this is their main competitor of the time period. And they're going, well, wouldn't it be better if Jesus wasn't born on January 6th and we just made his birth on December 25th? Ooh, that'll get some pagans to join us, right? Which is what they did. So continue with the slides. And so you start seeing these making, Jesus being born on December 25th. And there on the left, you see Silvanus, right? Look at him. Look at that image of Silvanus. Look how Christ-like he looks. You know what I mean? You got your Mithraic Chronos, right? He's holding the two keys, like Peter, the keys of the church, right? There you have your Mithra born from the rock between the Dioscuri, surrounded by the Mithraic symbols. There's your staffs with the serpents on them. There's your stars there, and then you have the bread of the cup of the Eucharist. Okay, that's universal. You see that with Eleusinian mystery. You see that with Sol Invictus mystery. You see that with Christianity. You see that everywhere. On the bottom, you can see there's another communion where they're all sitting at the table like the Last Supper, doing their thing. These are ancient rites. Okay, and this isn't. Everyone's getting this. Everybody has their own version of this because this is how it was in the Bronze Age. This is how it's passed down from generation to generation. And as these gods are being synced together through the Roman imperial cult, you start seeing this. This is a text called Saturnalia by Macrobius. And in this text, he says that Apollo and the sun are the same, and afterwards taught that he was the father of Liber, Dionysus, himself, who is Apollo. And there is no doubt from these that the sun and Liber, Dionysus, are considered the father of the same deity. Okay? If you go down, this is where it gets crazy. Because you always hear this pushback on the whole December 25th birth of the Son of God thing. Well, look at what it says. Look what Macrobius is saying here. That in the winter solstice, he's depicted as a small child. Obviously, we know what that means. He's born on the winter solstice, such as the Egyptians bring forth that the editus on the certain day, that a very short day, this is the winter solstice we're talking about, as small as a child. He's born on the winter solstice. And then his age is set at the summer solstice when he attains his greatest height in the image of the beard. And then from then on, diminutions. The god is represented as the fourth from an aging man. Likewise in Thrace, likewise in Thrace, the same is to be, we had to take the sun and Liberus, who they call Sabazius. There he is. There's Sabazius, Black Sea god, right where the same area as Medea. All right. If we continue, we'll see it says, and the sun is in the upper, that is in the daytime hemisphere, Apollo is invoked. All right. And in the underworld, that is that night, Dionysus, the father of the book, is held. That's where I got in that red. It says up there, Apollo and the sun are the same. And Liber is also, so Dionysus, basically what he's getting at here, okay? He's saying Dionysus, Apollo, Sabazius, Pan, whatever you want to call him, this is the son of God. He's born on the winter solstice. That's when the sun is at its smallest. That's when the sky, you could see the sun. Right now we're at the time where it's the shortest days of the year. It's cold out. It's the winter solstice time. That's what this period is. And so, let's go to the next one. It's the time of the year where the birth of the sun is happening. The sun is being born. And so here we go. This is the crazy part. This is what I wanted to get to. He calls him Yao. So Macrobius, after explaining the rites of Saturnalia and why we do Saturnalia, why we give gifts every year at this time, why we shut down our businesses, why we held our New Year's festival at the Calends of Janus. And he says, all these characters that we find in these mythologies are all Yao. He says it right here. The sacred verses is called Yao. For Apollo Clarius consulted which one of these gods should be considered, who is called Yao. Now, if you've watched my videos, you see in the Chaldean oracles, they say Bacchus is Yao. They'll say there's a triad. And you see this with the early Christians. especially the Valentinians, where they say that like you don't have Trinitarian theology until like the 4th century, 5th century, where they actually institute the Trinity. But the early Gnostics were already way ahead of them. And they said that, Jesus, who's the Christ, the Logos, is in a triad with Zoe. You were talking about Zoe earlier. Zoe is called Sophia, wisdom. And they're in a triad with the one, the one who is Phanes, the one that self-created God, right? And that's what these early Christians were saying. And this is now you have a pagan saying the Yahweh is this God. So there's complete overlap. And he cites Orpheus. He said, likewise, Orpheus, I'll read the part before that. The power of this oracle and the interpretation of the numbers and names by which the book, the Father, and the Son, Yahweh, are signified was executed by Cornelius Labius in a book called On the Oracle of Apollo Clarius. Likewise, Orpheus demonstrating that liberty and the Son are one and the same God. And he cites the passage and goes through how this is like, these are ancient Orphic ideas. And so there is no escaping Orphic inspiration in these ancient mystery rites. Eucharist, baptisms, these are all initiations for the ancient mysteries. So that's that.
Brilliant. Oh my God. I need to go take a cold shower. That was so good.
Oh, and by the way, Yahweh, you might be wondering, that's not the same as Yahweh. Well, it is. The oldest Septuagint copies that we have. So whatever Septuagint copy you think is the oldest is not. You're thinking of a church text called the Codex Sinaiticus or the Codex Alexandricus or the Codex Vaticanus. Those are the 3 big church texts. All of those are produced 325 or later. So between 325 and 400, they start producing these big church texts where they take the Septuagint Old Testament, it's altered. And the reason why we know it's heavily altered is because we found fragments, Greek fragments of the Old Testament from Alexandria. And instead of, and in a lot of places in that text where it's supposed to say Yahweh, it says Yahweh in the exact same spelling that you just saw in the Saturnalia. So it's that same God that Bacchus is named after in the Chaldean oracles, where they say another name for Bacchus is Yahweh. So Plutarch turns out to be correct in what he's talking about. He's not just throwing this up out of his ass. Plutarch is looking at texts that call Bacchus Yahweh, and the Septuagint is using this God called Yahweh. So he's not just making this up. He's citing texts from the time period.
You see, people, you see what happens when you give a angry person a club of truth. You see what happens when they pick up that evidence. Listen to how many sources. Just listen to how many sources Gnostic just went through. Oh my God, I just heard one after another. I was like, oh, irrefutable. Nobody can stand up to that. Nobody. You're swinging that lightsaber like it's red and you want to cut somebody in half.
Yeah,
right?
I'm saying my weapon is just sources. I just go to the sources.
Yeah. It's a beautiful training, people. How lucky we are that, Neil can jump in and can do all the source work so that there's no question. Listen to what he's talking about. This revolutionary. I don't know if people heard it, but that's revolutionary, right? That is a different view of history than any of us have had. Yeah, definitely. And from the mouths of the people who were living it. Good God, you can't get any more authentic than that. The Bible scholars, Neil, you will take them and you will do things to them that are so naughty and so gratifying at the same time. Oh God, I love it. I love it.
And that's why I want to say this too, because those 2 religions that you see in the time of Constantine. By the way, Julian the Apostate is a nephew of Constantine. He's from the same dynasty as Constantine. Originally, these were 2 religions supposed to coexist, and they sort of mirror each other. One of them is Christianity, where it tries to separate itself from everyone else. They're like the ancient hipsters, We're different than everybody. Oh, you like all that mainstream Apollo stuff? We're different. We don't. We have different. We have Jesus, but it's really they're just a bunch of hipster douches, right? You know that hipster douche that everyone knows that tries to listen to different music than everyone else. You've never heard this. Only I know this song. That type of crap, right? That's what they were like. But the rites of Mithras and Sol Invictus was another form of this ancient syncretist religion where you see both Vedic and Hellenistic traits coming from that part, the Armenia, Cappadocia, the place where Medea was, and a lot of this stuff finds its way into the Roman religion, and this was the ancient Roman religion.
And let's not forget that Medea is called Mitra. So
Right,
the connections there unbelievably tight. When Julius Caesar walks his scrawny bottom up to the temple of Venus Genetrix, which if you know Rome, you got to understand this is like the cult that everybody who has Roman blood, this is their cult. This is the great mother, the Genetrix, the producer of our people. This is our mother. You talking about our mother. He walks into her temple and he dedicates a portrait by some famous Greek dude of Medea.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. But so Julius Caesar, Augustus, they're venerating Medea. You see that, and they're not bringing this up for the first time in Rome, because you go back to the Etruscans and there's Medea there. Medea is all over the place, and she's a big deal. These ancient rites that these Orphics are passing down are if you want to call it Pelasgian, I like that word because it covers it's not just Greece, it's also the Black Sea. It's also northern Turkey, that region, Armenia. It's where you get this it's where you see a lot of the derivatives of this ancient. You see this with the Shavites, Shavites, I think I pronounced it right, with Shiva. There's like an Eastern Dionysus going on, and this is the god that's represented by the Soma drink. In the Persian religion, they call it the Haoma, and it's the god of the vine. It's the god of the drugs that possesses you. And in the Greeks, you see, it's Dionysus. So it's the Kykeon. And so you see the same rites in their respective languages, tweaked in their own little way, but ultimately it's these rites that are passed down from the Bronze Age being kept intact all the way up until the Middle Ages, when Christianity and Sol Invictus are the last two. But they're not the last two, because you have the word pagan comes from, it means like rustic, like people on the outside. In the inner cities, you have all these overeducated, ivory tower sort of nerd, Orphic, Pythagorean, Middle Platonist, Stoic people that think they're smarter than everyone else, and they have religion figured out, and they read Plato and get their theology from Plato. But outside of that, in the countryside, you have these rustic worshipers of Pan that don't give a shit about any of that stuff. They just follow what they were brought down from their parents and their grandparents, and they're keeping these rites alive. They don't care what the new philosophy is of the day. Those are the people that I love. That's why they call them pagans.
They're think of the
hillbillies. That's what they call them.
Yeah. Think of the farm girls. Imagine the farm girls what do? They're all tatted up and partially shaved, and they go out on the weekends at certain times a year, and they get into groups. Don't get caught. If you get caught, they'll fucking. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I can't believe that's the first time I said that. They'll catch you and they'll kill you. And this is their pagan way. Imagine those types.
And I was talking to another academic about this. It was so hard to get rid of them, because what are you going to do? You're going to slaughter them all? You can't do that. So they have to co-opt them somehow. They have to tell them stories. Demeter showed up in a dream and told Demetrius to worship Jesus. So you guys should do it. It's totally cool. Oh, we have a saint named Orpheus now. And look, he plays a lyre just like Orpheus does. You see them trying to co-opt them in different ways throughout different centuries. Because they won't go away. They never do go away. There always are pagans. They're always living on the countryside. Always. All the way up through the Middle Ages and the Renaissance and the Enlightenment. You always have the small minority of pagans living somewhere. They survive.
You can see it. You can see that pagan influence come through when Rome's like, maybe we should start worshiping the Phrygian mother. Why? Because an oracle told your dumbasses to do it.
Right. And you see the Phrygian mother influencing the Virgin Mother. Yeah. And those are the Cappadocian Phrygian church fathers. If you look at their tombstones, me and you were just looking at one one of the early church fathers. I can't remember his name. It starts with an A. And his tombstone doesn't even have the word Jesus or Christ on there once. All it is venerating the Holy Virgin Mother. Like, that was synonymous with God. The earliest Christians just said, the Holy Virgin Mother gave me life, gave me Zoe. And this is on the early church fathers' tomb. Then Jesus isn't on there and Christ isn't on there. And this is a big tombstone with like 500 words. No Jesus, no Christ. The Holy Virgin Mother is all you get. What is that? I mean, that says something about these early Phrygian, Cappadocian church fathers.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier that, it's really these Black Sea peoples in the, north of Turkey, modern day Turkey, who are passing on this culture down into Asia Minor through the trading and through the business. It's where all the pirates come from. The southern coast of the Black Sea is where Alexander, the false prophet, famous. It's where he ends up going to start his mystery.
Yeah. And you got Cappadocia's wedged right in between the Persians and the Romans. Yeah. That's where you see this blending happening, and you see Sabazius. That's the home of Sabazius, and even Clement of Alexandria is saying Sabazius is a countersign, because the way Sabazius was worshipped, it's like Zeus and Dionysus rolled into one. It's like a godhead, like Jesus and the Father, right? And Clement's looking at this, and Clement's saying, this is a countersign of the mysteries of Christ, right? He's saying they're copying Jesus. That's what he's saying. And Justin Martyr uses the same apologetic crap where he tries to say, oh, Mithras, he says, what does he say? He says, how Hermes is called the Logos, all that stuff that looks like Jesus. It's not. They're copying us. Well, you want to know why they have to say that? Because they don't have a choice. Because they know it's either one way or the other. So they have to argue for that side. Because they don't have a choice. They know that these Son of God rites are being applied to Jesus. It's the other way around. So that's where you start. You see, apologetics starts off early. Apologetics is not a modern thing that you just see today, where you see people being called apologists online or on Twitter. No. Christian apologetics started from day one. You don't see pagan apologetics. You don't see, they don't care. They're not trying to win. You either initiated or you're not. You know what I mean? You're either a Bacchant or you're not. No one really. It's not really like that.
You were talking a little bit earlier. You mentioned a couple of points that I wanted to bring up that were super strong areas of like gold. You just mentioned Macrobius, and let me give a plug to Macrobius. Get out there and take a look at them. You want to see some of that real cult stuff. You know what I mean? That's where it is. Beautiful, marvelous source. There's one. I want to send people to one. Dracontius. Nobody reads Dracontius. Playwright, right? Playwright. He's not technically a playwright. He's a dude who's exercising himself by writing very short little playlets. Think more of grammarian than anything else. Anywho, you've got to see some of the titles that he uses. The people of Rome understood For example, they call Medea Scutha, right? What is that from? It's from the fact that she's working in that region as the queen, right? Again, it's the thing you mentioned, Neil, that was so important that people, I think, need to hear is the Bacchic Empire. You can
Yeah.
watch this thing. How are they
You see
promoting
right
and
out.
pushing the power of the Bacchic Empire? It's with the oracles. With the oracles. This system of oracles is consistent throughout Europe, throughout the Mediterranean, right? All over North Africa.
The Sibyl.
Right. Yeah.
And they combine,
Yeah.
and that's what happens in Alexandria. They're taking all these texts from these different Sibyls and putting them all into one book. That's kind of where you get the Judeo-Christian religion from. It comes from the Sibylline tradition. And that's why you see all these prophets like Jeremiah and Isaiah. It's all destruction. God's going to come and destroy you. That's what you get in the Sibylline oracles. You know?
The guy who wrote the Torah and other parts in the 3rd century, that guy is borrowing so heavily from everything around. I didn't mention it tonight, Gnostic, but I want to ask you this. They've got how many of those gems do they carry? How many of those sacred
12.
stones do they carry? Do you know what the Lithica has?
12.
It has the powers. It has the powers of these stones from the Bronze Age, before there was Moses, before there was a Abraham, before there was anybody proposed wise, right? This is ancient history to the people.
Yeah, that's that zodiacal
in the 3rd
perfection.
century.
That's what they call it, zodiacal perfection, the 12. You see that all across the board. All across, and it's just obvious. You know?
How many fruits was it?
Sibylline oracles, this is not even a secret, because the Sibylline oracles are still continuing to be written by Christians all the way into the 15th century, where they talk about the fall of Constantinople going to happen. So, they don't even hide that the tradition comes from the Sibylline text.
They called the first Christian Sibylists, right? Followers of the way.
That's what Celsus was saying. He called when he starts listing off the groups of Christians, the first thing he says, they're called Sibylists, they're called Simonians, Marcionites, and he lists the Sibylists first. Like, you know how you read the back of ingredients and it starts with the biggest ingredients first, and it'll say like, sugar, citric acid, blah blah blah, and it's always whatever the most of it is always listed first. That's how you do stuff. He said Sibyllus first before he said anything else. Like, that says something about the tradition of Christianity, where it comes out of. It comes out of that Alexandrian Middle Platonist world, Stoics and Platonists clashing. That's what it is. Theology. It's Greek. You can't. This is what amazes me. I met somebody who's a theology PhD, who even he said, I'm surprised I even have a theology degree. They should just call my degree something else, because we don't learn any theology and we don't learn any Greek. He said, I don't know anything about pre-Socratics. I don't know anything about Plato, but I'm a theology PhD. That's like calling yourself a surgeon and not knowing how to use a scalpel. Like what's going on? Like, how do you do that?
Funny. It's hilarious, Neil. I can't believe that you're in that milieu, that you're able to smell that funk. I love that. Isn't that amazing? I'm going to smell it on any guest that ever come in the future on your show. I'm going to smell them before they come in. I want the Satanic congregation to recognize the use of source work here. See, there's no ideas. Neil didn't dream this up. He didn't sit around and say, what kind of book can I write to make myself some friggin' money and status? He didn't do that. He's just going, look at the sources, and he can give you an accurate picture, right? That other people who are so-called scholars can't keep up with, right? Let's give Neil the kudos that he deserves. I'm going to say this, Neil. You told me this in confidence, but I don't think you'd mind me saying it. Some other hoo-ha somewhere else with a degree and a professorship said, wow, how is Gnostic informants so well informed in the sources, right? As if It belongs to them, as if they can take these materials and make whatever they want and put stupid ideas in your head. When somebody who's Ronin from the outside comes in, it's a huge threat. Look,
Well,
look what your audience is way bigger than theirs.
Well, because it ain't 100 years ago. 100 years ago, if you were living in the time of Franz Kumat or, whatever, Carl Jung or somebody, you had to go to university to get books. You're not going on Amazon. You're not reading them online. And now everybody has the power. You can go online. You can get a Greek tutor on Wizant. You can learn Greek and Hebrew. You can learn everything you want from your computer, and you can read the texts. They're all translated. You don't need to pay $40,000 to learn this stuff. Maybe if you want to be an expertise in one specific area, then go ahead, knock yourself out, go in debt for the rest of your life. But if you just want, you don't have to go in debt to learn this stuff. I'm just saying. I don't call myself an expert in anything, but I will say I'm pretty confident in basic understanding of a lot of these subjects.
Yeah. You can tell them, Neil, next time you talk to anybody that you want to flash your badge, you tell them you officially have a master's degree from Satanic U.
There you go.
And if you want them to play with you in the sources, you welcome them in. And then Neil, you never lighten up. When you go in, you smash the hell out of them. Do you understand? You take that ground and you show them, this is my dojo. You know what I mean? You show them the way. And you can do that with the sources. Everybody sees that tonight. Look, there are a lot of BS artists out there. There are a lot of people with degrees and with titles that you and I don't have. And those people will tell you this is the way it was. And all you got to do is watch. Look what Neil did with the sword tonight. He slayed. He totally slayed. He gave a picture of antiquity that it was razor sharp. And Neil, I could taste it. I was getting all riled up and kind of aroused by the whole situation, intellectually speaking.
And to see Paul cite Medea is pretty hilarious, because you can't escape. There is no escaping if you're writing in Greek. And even just not even just the quote that's from Medea, even just writing words in Greek, you're gonna run into the technical cultic terms like Eucharist or Baptist. Stuff that you find in the Eleusinian mysteries and the Mithraic mysteries, Samothracian mysteries. All this stuff comes from this. How many times does Paul talk about mystery? The word mystery itself comes from the ancient mystery rites. It didn't mean like solve a riddle of a novel. It meant mystery, the religion. That's what it meant. That's what that word meant.
How many preachers out there do you think, Neil, or how many priests and preachers know that Paul quoted Medea? How many do you think?
Not many. They think because they most of them know about Epimenides, but do they know Epimenides was citing Medea?
Zero. I'll bet you I'll bet my degree against every degree at Dallas Theological Seminary. Do you hear me? I left Dallas Theological Seminary because their Greek program was so bad.
You were there?
Yes, I started. I enrolled.
What year was this?
In their THD program. Oh, I think it was early 90s. I enrolled in their THD program.
I'm just trying to imagine you in Dallas Theological Seminary.
Yeah. The first day I got there, this guy who lived on the same floor, right, came in and he was like, "Can I sit down?" I was like, "Sure, brother, go ahead." And he said, "Can you tell me your secret sins?"
Oh, wow.
And I was like, "No, man, I got some Greek to study."
To get I think that's one of the institutions where you have to sign. I know the SBL does this, but I think they do it too, where you have to sign a statement of faith.
Well, of course,
the statement of faith is like you will preach Jesus Christ was crucified and rose on the third day. Like that you're signing that for your degree.
Yeah,
and they still do that in 2023.
Yeah, I didn't get that far.
So mind blowing.
I didn't get that far. Though.
I don't think you would have agreed to that, would you? Even back in the 90s, you probably would have.
No, but I was getting so. You see, I had a bachelor's in classics by this point.
Yeah.
So although I loved Jesus Christ and wanted to continue my mission work, and go through Dallas Seminary, the classics was rooting itself in my brain. And after a while, I was like, look, their Greek sucks here. They do weird stuff that's kind of touchy-feely weird.
Biblical Greek, is that what they call it? Biblical Greek?
What's that?
Well, if you learn biblical Greek, you're stuck in this box. It's only Greek terms that are found in the New Testament or Septuagint, right? Yeah. So you don't actually go outside and find out where these words mean and what the etymologies are, where they come from. Do they come from Orpheus? Do they come from Plato? Do they come from Homer? You're looking at it and saying, oh, this word shows up in the Septuagint and now it's being used in the New Testament. So it only can mean these certain things. You're stuck in a box.
Right.
Biblical Greek. What's that?
Yeah. I had a bachelor's degree in Greek and Latin. It was in the classics department, right? And it was in Greek and Latin. I double majored, right? I did both. And what was funny was going from that at a major university. I went to the University of Arizona, and go Wildcats. And anyway, I after getting that technical exposure, I was able to go to seminary and see right away. I mean, the world that they live in with their language is so unscientific. I have students come to me from biblical classes. They're taking, they got to do so much biblical Greek, right? And I get them and I have to sit them down. I have to reprogram them. And I have to say, look, this is a science. So, you can stop messing around and you can learn the fundamentals, right? And I can take somebody like that and train out the bad that seminary gives them. But it all comes down to Acts again, the book of the Acts of the Apostles. When the people saw them talk, when they saw Peter and John talk, they said there are two things. Number one, they're illiterate. And number two, they're stupid.
Right.
And they said, I went to Dallas Theological Seminary.
The one passage I laughed.
That's what I found at Dallas Theological Seminary.
It reminds me of the passage where they walk up to Paul. The Stoics and Epicureans are sitting in Athens. I'm picturing them, with their beards like mine right now, and they're wearing their togas. And these are some strange notions you bring to our ears. Tell us more. and then it says he told them more, and some of them were like, I gotta go. And only a few stayed behind. And I'm laughing because I'm like, this is probably true. This sounds like a true text. I think that part's historical. That's a funny text. It's like Paul sitting there in Athens going, I want to tell you about Jesus. And they all walk up and say, huh? This is some strange notions you bring to our ears. Go on, sir. Tell us. Well, he resurrected. Oh, I gotta go. I'm out of here. And he's looking around at their statues, and he sees one of them says, "To an unknown god," and it's probably Theos Hypsistos, right? The unnamed god. And he's looking around saying, "That's him. That's ours. We have the same one." So funny. I don't know. That's how I read that part.
And people think Neil that this guy Paul is a genius. Oh, this is the author of the Romans, and they talk about him like, hoo ha, dude. I've read lots of classical authors, lots of people before Paul and after Paul, and I can tell you for a fact, I wouldn't put Paul in the top 60, 70 authors that I know from antiquity who could, whose works make his look kind of like brainwashy,
like Callimachus. Yeah, he's crazy. Yeah. He's out of his mind. Talking about, you need the gnosis. You need to, he says in Corinthians, gnosis, speaking in tongues, and prophesying. If you don't have you have to have all three, but if you don't have all three, you gotta have faith too. And if you don't have faith, then you don't have all three. But if you have all three and you have faith, then you're good. Like, it sounds like he's going crazy when you read Corinthians. It sounds like someone going crazy.
You know he's being backed by the purple, right? He's got Lydia and all the backing that he needs for that. So, okay, I understand that's what's financing what he's doing. But
I think he was bringing those good Eastern drugs to the Greeks, and that's why they're like, yeah, all right, we'll fund your project. Come on in, come to Corinthians and start a church here. Bring some of that good Egyptian, some good Arabian, whatever you got.
He was pushing the venom. He was pushing the viper venom, baby. I mean,
if he's having visions of the seventh heaven, he's right. Down. We know what that means. You and I know what that means.
Yeah. The angel came to him. Yeah, the angel came to him. He
floated up to the seventh heaven, he said, or the third heaven, he said. Yeah. All right, we know how you got there. There's only one way to get there. There's only one way to get to the third heaven, to float up to the third heaven.
And what's funny is people who follow the fairy tale. I mean, think about somebody trying to make
sense. You think it just happened naturally?
Very simple. Think of a very simple-minded person, somebody who's really concrete, really down to earth, and just straightforward, right? And Paul says, I got boosted up to the so-and-so heaven, and there I was, and right. And what is this person trying to? Well, did you see him get struck by the snake? That thing didn't hurt him. This guy's pushing the thorn. That's what they call it. This guy's pushing the thorn, right? So he's one of those friggin' pirates. Yeah.
Remember we looked up the buckthorn in Greek, the acantha, and then it said like acacia roots as it's on the bottom on what we call it, what's the website? Perseus Tufts. It defined that exact drug as acacia. Like, that's DMT right there. That's crazy. I didn't even know that until that's why I love that website. But Paul, yeah. Oh, and I think whoever wrote James, they say it's James or whoever, or someone else maybe that wrote James, whatever the case is. I'll just say James. It's James. Just says, text says James. I'm just gonna call it James. Anyways, whoever wrote that was responding to Paul, talking shit and saying, "You don't know what you're talking about, dude. All your shit about faith. Who cares?" He goes, "Even demons have faith. Who gives a shit about faith?" I love that text, dude. I mean,
was he the one of those Jameses got thrown off the Temple Mount?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Was that? What do you have to do at work to piss people off so much they throw you out of the building? I don't know. What? Any ideas?
Probably super high. Probably just bothering everybody for being too high. Here we go. Here's the text right here. I'm sharing my screen on the right. If you can pull it up. He says, "You believe that there's one God. Good. Even demons believe that." Like, it's basically like the way it's supposed to be written, the way it's supposed to be. This is supposed to be sarcastic, the good part.
So tell me this, Neil. Tell me, because I really want to expand on this, and then I'm gonna call it the Bacchic Empire. As you're reading all of these sources, and you're finding out that there's all of this, you kind of get the sense of what Bacchic worship is. Hits this area at this time, hits Thebes, hits Rome.
Baptists too.
There's an organization. Yes, and the Baptist is part of it. It's all part of the same movement.
Right.
There's an organization to this, isn't it? That people are not. I think the oracular structure is what's keeping, because those oracles are the ones who are given orders to say, go do this colony. Yes, you can go to war. Even when Athens is fighting with Sparta, as late as that, right? Classical Greece. What happens? It's all oracles, right? They're generals.
It's always women that perform the oracles.
Yeah, those generals are listening to the oracles.
Isn't that funny how in the ancient world we always talk about patriarchy and how women don't have roles in these religions, these modern Islam and Christianity. In the ancient world, they had ordained women in these high roles of high priestesses, handling the snakes, the serpents, and handling the drugs and giving the oracles to these kings and these generals telling them what to do. They were way ahead of their time. I'm telling you, democracy, all that stuff. Athena, the image of Athena, Minerva. You see that, you go to Independence Hall in Pennsylvania or in Washington, D.C., and you see Minerva, Lady Liberty. That's all ancient democracy from Athens. And like they were way ahead of their time. You know what I mean?
You think we'll be able to keep that all in with this? Final question, and thank you for coming tonight. This has been absolutely wonderful. Final question for you. I'll let you wrap with this. Tell me now, you told us everything about the past. Tell me now about the present and the immediate future. Are we going to be able to keep liberty? Or is the government going to be challenged and overthrown?
We're keeping it. Because liberty always prevails. Look at history. Even if there's a dark time, even if there's some dark ages that rise up, eventually Athena always wins. So that's what I'll say. That's my oracle.
As long as we recognize that we can go backwards, that it is possible. And funny thing is, this happens when groups like, I don't know who did it in the 3rd and 4th century. Christians. When the Christians challenged the government, they were able to get a person to endorse them, a desperate guy named Constantine. I think he had orange hair. And he said, right, I am now, part of the whole Key Row society, right? And what happened? Crumble, crumble, crumble. And everybody's like, what the? Julian that you mentioned tonight, the Christians, you have to understand, people out there. Julian, the emperor that Neil mentioned tonight, right? Who's
tried to save the world.
Tried to save the world, tried to save civilization.
And I gotta say this, because the way the Christians treated the Jews for 1,000, 1,500 years was real rough, forcing them into ghettos, basically treating them secondhand citizens. They weren't Roman citizens; they had to be treated like animals, right? Julian, who wanted to bring the ancient rites back, said, Jerusalem belongs to the Jews. He wanted to build the temple again. It's in the sources. So this guy really did want to keep the world back into its balance and where it was supposed to be. He said that Yahweh, that's Israel. Let them have their God. Let Alexandria be ruled by Serapis. Let Athens be ruled by Athena. He had this system that he was envisioned what it's supposed to be. You got to give, that's true, You
got to give him credit, especially since all of his male relatives were executed by the Christians when he was just a tiny kid. The only reason he was alive was it would look too bad if they killed a child, right? And sometimes we can walk over that line, right? But it makes us all queasy. Okay, so your vote is we keep Lady Liberty here. We follow justice. We shed the blood of tyrants onto the tree of liberty to make our republic stand. You're Cicero. Who do I get to be? Who do I get to be? I want to find out who I am. But yeah,
if I'm Cicero, then are you coming with the opposite?
No, I want to be with you. No, I want to keep the republic. You know what I mean?
Brutus.
Yeah.
You got your dagger. You're Brutus. Cicero and Brutus. No, I'm glad you said that. I was hoping you would say that, because I think they were on the right. I mean, Caesar, whatever. Caesar is Caesar, whatever. He's a great general and the emperor, but he was on the wrong side of history, in my opinion. Cicero's on the right side of history. Yeah. That's just my opinion. I've read a lot of his sources. I'm a big fan of Lucian's Civil War, and I'm a big fan of Cicero. I'm a big fan of Diodorus and Ovid and Cassius Dio and all these great Virgil. And my come away with that time period was Cicero tried to save the Republic, and that was the way to go. Yeah. Who knows what could have happened if they kept that thing intact?
Yeah, he was trying. He put himself between their past republic and this wave of imperialism that ultimately wiped them out. They couldn't, as soon as when you make your central power so powerful that they can do anything, as soon
Right.
as you get someone in there with no limits, everything's
Well,
going to crumble.
and
Everything's going to
and the,
crumble.
the only way to maintain a government like that is to keep fighting wars.
Right.
It's to you got to get your legions out there. You got to take more land. You got to take more resources. That's the only way to keep that type of system going. That's why that's why they call it the Dark Ages, and the Middle Ages is all the Ostrogoths, the Vandals, the Huns, all warrior cultures trying to kill each other over kingdoms and land. And when you have a republic with a senate that represents the people at large, with you balance the power out more. There's just and the Thomas Jefferson and Thomas Paine, they realized this after the Enlightenment. They said those Greeks had it figured out. Nietzsche was big into the Greeks. We have to go back to what they were doing. This is the only way. Like all this Holy Roman Empire crap, that's got to go. Everyone's like you either are living as a serf or you're a billionaire living in a church, like trillionaire. I'm saying like, equated to today's money, because that's what they were. These high cardinals and bishops living in. They're the only ones that enjoyed life. Life was only good if you were one of those people. To anyone else, life sucked. So when I hate this new thing that historians do now, where they'll say the Dark Ages weren't as dark as we thought. It was actually pretty good. For who? For fucking who? I hate that shit. I push back against that. I don't care. I can still call it the Dark Ages. I'm going to keep continuing to call it that.
Yeah.
Prove me otherwise.
Scotland, Edinburgh has a wonderful museum of the middle-aged torture devices that are used to extract information from people, or just, if your group is into that, if your brotherhood is into, beating and abusing people, this is a good place for it. Yeah, no, I thank you very much, Middle Ages. I think I'd rather, fly with the people who talked about the golden age. You know what they said? The Romans said their golden age was? It was the Pax Romana. It was that time when those doors are shut and there aren't wars, right? How do you bring that civilization?
That's what Lucan gets at in his Pharsalia, where he emphasizes it's the time of peace when people are happy. During times of war, it's just death and sadness and depression. Yeah. Nothing good comes from war. That's why I see these idiots on Twitter with their Alexander the Great thumbnails, and they'll say like Christian warrior, and they're like, look how based it was back in ancient Rome, and they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. None of these people ever had to take a spear or and stat, like they have no idea what it was like. Like Homer made it clear war is not that great. It sucks. Read the Iliad. When Homer describes what happens when Ajax throws a spear and it goes through somebody and they start to blank out and they lose their consciousness and then they're gone. Homer writes that out very vividly. Homer's trying to tell you war is not fun. And Achilles was the symbol of how war can really tear people apart. When Achilles has to kill Hector and a father has to grieve for his son. That's why they call this text divine, because it's so true.
Yeah. Mars lays down with Venus, right? That's the thing. That's right. That Roman ideal.
That's that triad.
Yeah. To get to that,
love and war.
Perfect civilization. That was the dream of the Seven Hills, right? And that stuff was appropriated through time and used. The Christians have used those images for centuries and distorted them, just like Julian said. He said they're going to distort everything. It turns out they did, so that the images that we get, their Bible times, are just totally, I mean, come on. Who believes any of that stuff anymore? I mean, how can you? Oh my God. Okay, I won't start because we've been long enough. But thank you, Neil. I'm going to give you a last chance to comment here. Thank you for coming on Satanic Initiation. Glad to have you before the show's over. I want to tell people Wednesday, our very last show, will be I will sum up. I'll give you the attorney for the Transdimensional Authority. I'll sum up with the charges against Jesus, and then I will give us a chance to come to a verdict via you, and whether it will be a poll or whether we'll just be scanning the chats. Either way, it should be fun, and we'll have a little bit of fun, and I'll end up with a few comments, just a way of thanking you and for being involved. And thank you, Neil. And you've got the last word tonight on Satanic Initiation. Hail Satan.
Hail Satan. I'm working on a video right now about this time of the year, the winter solstice, Saturnalia. This time of the year is a special time of the year, to magical time of the year. And there's light in the darkness, you know. And Hanukkah, the idea of Hanukkah, where they light the menorah, the light in the darkness. This is that solstice time of the year. So, so I'm working on a video that I'm done with the script, and I'm recording it now, and I'll be editing it. It'll be out in the next week, probably 5-6 days, and it's about this time of the year and the certain rites. It goes back to Haola. The ancient Greeks had a Bacchic festival during this time of the year. Before the Romans did Saturnalia, the Greeks had a different winter festival dedicated to Bacchus. That's in the video. Sol Invictus stuff, Saturnalia stuff, some of the Christian ideas. So like, it's all about, the whole video is going to be about the ancient festivals and the showing the sources of what they said about this time of the year. Well, interesting shit. The Egyptians had temples built that would mark the sun in the sky, and there's fascinating shit. The sun would line up in a certain place during the winter solstice. Cool shit. That's what's coming next.
Gorgeousness and gorgiosity all wrapped up. Love it. I love it. Okay, guys, thank you for coming tonight. Everybody out there, yeah.
Happy birthday, Lucifer.
Yeah, happy birthday. Right.
That's what it is. That's what this month is. That's what this month is. The birth of Lucifer.
We should sing happy birthday to the devil on the final episode. That would be nice.
Good idea.
That would be nice. Okay. Thank you guys for coming tonight. Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
You never cared for fame and fortune or worldly renown. On the day that it came knocking, you just turned it down all away. Why did you ever change your